Kenya's best time on the soccer field were in the 70s and 80s when the AFC Leopards and Gor Mahia commanded the territory in the country and around the region. Matches between the two clubs that were based in Nairobi were seismic events that dominated public discussion and media headlines before and after the derbies. The success of the two sides also translated to a stronger national team, the Harambee Stars, as illustrated in August of 1987 when Kenya hosted the 4th All-Africa Games in Nairobi. Kenya was drawn against African giants Cameroon and Tunisia, with Madagascar completing the tough Group A. Prior to the games, Harambee Stars coach late Reinhard Fabisch had taken the team to training in Germany, and the opening game was supposed to be a showcase moment. Ambrose Ayoyi, the lethal centre-forward nicknamed Golden Boy, remembers the games that saw him score regularly, elevating his name to legendary status.
Katika hiyo All-Africa Games yote, mimi nadai. Ndio sababu nini? Mimi nimekuwa top scorer All-Africa Games 1987. Sikupewa zaidi hata kidogo. Funga mabao 5. Kila game nilikuwa nafunga. Hakuna game ambayo nilikosa kufunga.
Kenya defeated Tunisia 1-0 and Madagascar 2-1 before settling to a dramatic 3-all draw with Cameroon.
Unajua mkono wangu ulikuwa nikionyesha wewe niwekee hapa. Ukiniwekea hapa mimi nakuwekea kitu ndani. Utaridhika mwenyewe. Sasa nikamwambia niwekee hapa. Sasa yeye akubali kuleta kule juu, mimi niruke juu nifunge goli. Yeye alileta kwa chini kama hivi, kiwango kama hivi kidogo cha kuku hivi. Ambayo goalkeeper angeni sandwich huko na defender. Basi nilipiga hapo 89th minute. Baada dakika ngapi? Moja. Mchezo uishe. Kuweka hiyo kitu ndani hapo. Mimi nakwambia Fabish, I told you.
The Malawians, inspired by the disciplined captain Young Chimodzi and the Malunga brothers Kenneth and Holman, visited terror upon the hosts, and the semi-final had mysteriously to be played across 2 days. Roy Gachuhi, a sports journalist at the peak of his career then, remembers the events of that fateful day when darkness gave the Harambee Stars a second chance.
Malawi were dominating Kenya, and Kenya it was only a matter of time before Malawi hit the net and we were out. Then the lights went off, the floodlights, they just went off. So there was a lot of anxiety and suspicion that the lights did not just go off. Someone did it to save Kenya. Yeah. We'll never get to know. I've tried to investigate what that happened, but there was an engineer I spoke to and he said that the floodlights just failed. So the game was abandoned to be played the following day. Malawi were not done with Kenya. They took Kenya right to sudden death. The goal was scored by Austin Oduor. I remember him crossing himself. You know, he made a sign of the cross before taking the last penalty of sudden death, you know. And he fired it in, and the relief that came out of that stadium could have felled trees. It lost to Egypt fairly, I would say. But Egypt always defeats Kenya.
After the 1987 All-Africa Games, Mohamed Heri would then lead the Harambee Stars to the Africa Cup of Nations. Heri, who is now based at the coast with Sparky Youth, where his career started, worked under the German coach Bernhard Zgoll, whose influence on Kenyan football remains unparalleled.
The first indigenous Kenyan, nikaweza kuqualify team kwa Africa Cup of Nations ambayo ilikuwa Algeria. Ujue wakati huo ni mimi peke yangu, hata nilikuwa nikiomba Mungu nisishikwe na ugonjwa. Sababu mimi ndiye coach, sina assistant coach, sina goalkeeper trainer.
At the beginning of the decade, Kenya dominated the Sekafa Senior Challenge, winning back-to-back titles between 1981 and 1983. Josephat Murila, the no-nonsense defender, aptly nicknamed Controller, was part of that history-making squad.
In 1979 to 87, we had a cherished team, a team that has been composed. That was one. A team that has been training together for a long period. Fans, who are the main supporters of the national team, had created and, you know, they had certain players in their lifetime. When they are in the national team, they expect results, and those players could give them results.
Ndio game ya kwanza Challenge Cup ya 1983 tukichukua mara ya 3. Kwanza 81, 82, 83. Hiyo 83 ndio Nyayo Stadium sasa ndio inafunguliwa. game ikianza akumaliza dakika 2 ni shati ya kitu. John Zimbiti alikuwa wa Malawi goalkeeper. Ndiye alikuwa goalkeeper hapo. Mimi alikuwa kinona babaika.
With Kenya's Harambee Stars reaching such heights, the top clubs in the country, Gor Mahia and the AFC Leopards, were also writing a piece of history still unmatched to date. Gor Mahia won 3 titles in 1987. The League, Moi Golden Cup and the Africa Cup Winners' Cup, also known as the Nelson Mandela Cup.
Gor Mahia could have won the Cup Winners' Cup earlier, but they lost their heads in Cairo and they were suspended for 3 years. But they came from suspension and won the cup in 87. And who are you talking about? They're defeating teams like Horoya of Guinea, who are the defending champions. They were defeating other teams from Benin.
Gor's arch-rivals AFC Leopards were also writing another piece of history. Previously known as the Abaluya Football Club, the club won 6 league titles between 1980 to 1989, Moi Golden Cup twice and the Sekafa Club Cup thrice. Peter Lichungu, who is currently the Secretary General of the Retired Footballers Association, was part of that successful squad.
We went to Zambia and they really tricked us. We had reached there so late, we never had time to sleep. And then during lunch hour, they brought the best meal. They brought us maini liver, and we all overfed. So by the time we got to the pitch, those guys were so swift. Within 20 minutes, they'd beaten us 4 goals. So by the time we were recovering, the game was over. But when in the return leg, we beat them 4-1 in Mombasa.
Top players in the region were in KCC because it was a city council team, so they were employing the best. And the KCC had reached the final unbeaten. So in the final, AFC Leopards, who had gone to Mogadishu as underdogs, had gained courage to reach the final. But we were on radio, we had said, no, where we have reached is enough. But from nowhere, there is a man called Abdul Braza who hit a free kick in the first half, and that was the end of the match. That is when Abaluya won the cup for the first time.
And even as rivalry between Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards continued to excite the local scene, the two teams regularly found themselves playing against each other in regional and continental competition.
I covered 6 Gor Mahia matches. And the best match I covered that time was Gor Mahia in Cotonou. In Cotonou, in Benin, in West Africa. Club called Takonzi Weme. We drew there 2-2. Gor Mahia came here, they settled the score 1-0 with Peter Tau scoring the first goal. So when I wrote the story, is when Gor Mahia reached the final. And we had gone with the AFC Leopards to Congo to play AFC Kalam. Very difficult match. AFC Leopards survived. The AFC had won here 4-1. They were hit 3-0 there, but they survived in the quarterfinals because of our away goal.
At that time, Gor Mahia NFC, during the late Len Gillians, during Sammy Owino, during Lule, during Alan Thigo, during Charles Otieno, during the late Cobra, during Bobby Ogola, Austin Odor, I'm telling you, that was super. You think you're watching, I don't know, like a European team.
And sometimes the competition between the two clubs was so intense that some quarters of the clubs resulted to witchcraft for good results.
One time, asked somebody, why are we passing? This is the main gate. Why are you going to pass through another gate?
We are going to play breweries. They brought a Kajuju man who came with a, with a whole basin of water. And they slaughtered the chicken, we jump on top of it, and we jump, then you move out. Then that basin, there was something, there was a bubble. So they came, 3 of them, said, Mabautatu. So they never told us to go this side or the other side. The last minute, Brewers scored 3rd goal. We lost, but the 3 goals were seen. But Leopards lost the game.
And the players relished the limelights of playing in the national team.
You'll never till you go and look for girls. The girls are looking for you. There's no time you're going at it to look for, for a date and what. No. They look for you where you are and they'll see you. And they don't come in 1 or 2. Minimum will be about 5.
A name synonymous with Kenyan football, Joe Kadenge, may have hung his boots decades ago, but all the goals he scored replay vividly in his head.
I got the ball half line, half field. And then I did not give the ball to anybody else. I said, I will beat anybody who is in front of me. And I hope I beat so many players, I can't even remember where I got the strength. Because anybody who was in front of me, I had to dribble and beat him. He goes down. Another one whom I have beaten comes back to come and stop me again until I even dodged the goalkeeper and scored the goal.
Kadenge further paints his earliest experiences with the national team, which was not necessarily camped in Nairobi, as has become a norm.
The senior players who were as coaches, thought I was a good player but very young. At 21, they called me a very young player. Then I said, there's nothing I can do. They dropped me.
Kadenge's progression to national team duty was long but gave him extensive experience, having played in Nakuru before joining Maragoli FC on his way to the AFC Leopards and landing the prestigious national team call-up. The generation of football players that succeeded Kadenge had an even elaborate structure of development, the Olympic Youth Centers established by German coach Bernard Zgol.
In the Kakamega High School, and there was a center there that was being managed by Chris Makoha. In 1978, I remember we went to Germany, the junior team. We played in Germany for a week.
A great honor to meet Pele. He came to Mombasa here. By then, I was the captain of Mombasa Olympic Youth Center. I introduced the players. I shook his hand. He spoke in Portuguese. We didn't understand.
Even football coaches enjoyed and flourished under the Olympic centers. And these structures seem to have gone with the good times of Kenyan football in the 80s, as football management changed hands, each office promising the World Cup, but barely delivering a spoon to feed the success-hungry football fraternity.
Egypt did a lot of preparations, waka cancel ligi yao kuona kwamba ni lazima washinde wende World Cup. Sisi tulikwenda baada ya siku mbili na temperature ilikuwa 50. Lakini tuweza kufungwa bao 2-1. Sawa. That is the closest Kenya ingeweza kwenda World Cup. Na sijui tungeenda vipi. Maana matayarisho kwenda Egypt ilikuwa tabu. Sasa matayarisho World Cup sijui ingekuwa vipi.
Football is thoroughly corrupt, and all the officials who have gone in it have gone for two reasons: to make money or to get into politics. Except Kenneth Matiba. Kenneth Matiba did not go he did not use it to get into politics. Neither did he use it to make money. He already had a lot of money. He was a sportsman. He was an outdoorsman. During the Moi years, only two stadiums were built. Moi liked sports, so he Nyayo Stadium, which was opened in 83, and Kasarani, which was opened in 87. All the rest are colonial.
But the current football management is defensive on the failures that continue to attend to the game.
I believe strongly when Peter Kenneth and myself were on the helm, and we continued consistently, we would be very far. Between 95 and the year 2000, there was complete order. And we had tried. But for 10 years, when some of us were out, when there were chaos, I would say we do not really want to look at the back, we want to look at the future.
Football has been bedeviled by shoddy management, corruption, and a very primitive exploitation of the players. That has been the lot of Kenya football.
I have never seen in my whole entire football life where football structures have been respected. We come up with structures when we are campaigning, and the same structures we send to FIFA for approval. Funds would actually be sent in for the same projects, but those projects have never been built up.
Another important element in the most successful decade was that of the technical bench. Apart from Harry, who took Kenya to the Africa Cup of Nations, there was the influence of Marshal Mulwa.
Alikuwa ni mtu ambaye alituweka pamoja. Na sisi tukaketi pamoja. Tukawa kama huyu baba yetu, akituambia hivi tunafanya hivi. Kuna kipindi ambacho tunakosa allowance. Coach Mulwa anasema nendeni mkafanye mazoezi. tuingiane na basi tunafanya mazoezi. Enda kutafutia nini? Allowance. Ya 25 shillings per day. Enda kutafutia.
After the 80s, the coaches came in high rotation, some lasting barely a year, but each coming up with new players and lax discipline.
A player never lasts in the national team more than 1 year or 2. We keep on exchanging players in the national team. A national team is not a rotational area for players.
Mimi ni coach ambaye nimewahi kufukuzwa mara 5. Nimekuwa national head coach, alafu nikawa sacked.
In the early 2000s, the Kenyan Premier League decided to overlook the wrangles that were crippling Kenyan football and brought about a bit of sanity. Investors have been coming in, but the football governing body, FKF, is yet to establish youth structures. On a brighter side, the top Kenyan clubs in AFC and Gor Mahia are back to continental duty, and hopefully this will take Kenya back to the glory days and to the promised land, slowly but surely. Watson Karuma, NTV, Kenya at 50.